Dr. Daria Davidson spent 20 years as an emergency room doctor. Today, she continues her clinical practice, but spends much of her time telling audiences all over the world about Max GXL.
Well, at the end of 20 years, I had seen 70,000 patients in that period of time. I've actually seen about 80,000 patients altogether. But in the emergency room, and 11 of those years I spent running a level 1 trauma center, like the television show ER. In the emergency room, we deal with serious situations, one of which is an overdose of something called acetaminophen, which we know that that's a common pain medication, sometimes used for fever. But if you take an overdose of it, it will kill you. And it doesn't kill you by causing you to fall asleep and stop breathing or anything like that. It's a slow death that involves death of the liver. It does it because it drains glutathione out of the liver. The liver has about 1,000 times more glutathione than the other cells in our body. Because of that foundation, I already knew about glutathione. And then in my holistic medical practice, I deal with a lot of very sick people. We know that glutathione is the guardian of the cell. I mean, its job is to be the main antioxidant, but it's the main detoxifier, the main anti-inflammatory. It's directly related to ATP production, which is the currency of the cell. It's the energy of the cell. And so when I started doing integrative medicine, I looked at how glutathione's place in the health of our cells was preeminent. It ranks up there with oxygen and water and any kind of a fuel source to burn for energy. The problem was no one had really come up with a way of getting our bodies to manufacture more glutathione, even though we all know that it goes down with aging. We all know that things like lack of sleep, air pollution, toxins we breathe in, chemicals in foods, all of these things will drain our natural reserves of glutathione. And we know that when glutathione levels are lower, the cells are less healthy. And so in my integrative medicine practice, I, as many other doctors, was looking for a solution for this. How do I help people get their glutathione levels to go up? I'm very familiar with what was available. We sometimes use intravenous glutathione for treatment of serious diseases, but the problem with intravenous glutathione, it doesn't get inside the cells. It gets into your bloodstream, and the cells that make glutathione, which is all of your cells, some of the cells have a transport mechanism to bring it outside of the cell, so there is some glutathione out there, but there is no transport to bring it in. We'll see some improvement, but it can't get the job done as well as something that's letting your cells have the glutathione inside. What happened was this. I heard about a new company, Max International, back in April of 2007, and their product was a product that improved glutathione production. If that were true, that's huge. When I saw that and I realized what it was, and this is literal, I said to my husband, this is the most significant nutritional supplement I'll ever see in my lifetime.
I met a doctor in Dallas one time at one of our meetings. Little did I know, he actually came up to the podium and spoke, and he blew me away with his knowledge of glutathione, and he practices internal medicine in Dallas. Former major in the Air Force, where he was a doctor in the Air Force. Dale, what a delight to have you here.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Let me ask you, how do you know about glutathione?
I took it upon myself to find out more and more about nutrition and what it can do for the body. And so in my efforts, in my quest to find out about how to make the body function at a very high and optimum level, I found that glutathione is the most powerful antioxidant and micronutrient that supplies the body with what it needs to be healthy. A few months prior to my introduction to Max GXL, I was trying to take upon my own shoulders the responsibility to take different subcomponents of elements that make glutathione in my body, alpha-lipoic acid, glutamine, and cysteine, and these kinds of things, and just kind of, in a hodgepodge sort of way, try to create a way to increase my own glutathione. But the frustration was that I wasn't noticing a clinical response in myself. And one day, my office manager walked in, Jerry Lindsay, and he walked in and he said, "Dr. Bradley, do you know what glutathione is?" Do I know what it is? I thought. I mean, let me give you a lecture about glutathione. It's been my, my one source, my elusive golden carrot that I've never been able to touch or reach or take part of and to take to my patients or my family or myself. And he said, well, this is different. This actually gives you the building blocks of glutathione, and it was actually invented by a world-class scientist, immunologist, Dr. Robert Keller. And of course, that got my attention. I still had some doubts. I think we're cynical by nature and we're somewhat doubtful by nature. But, as a doctor, I wanted proof. Well, so I started researching Dr. Keller, his work, and also the company Max International. And in doing so, I had enough, at least, baseline trust in what he was telling me to go ahead and try it. I had to bridge that gap of wondering if it was going to make a difference by just taking a step out and doing that. And I'm somewhat skeptical about a lot of things that I've seen out there. I've had patients and colleagues and other people produce or present things to me, and frankly, I haven't seen any robust or any substantial changes come from that. So I was skeptical, but I did not see any long-term harm or any short-term harm for that matter. So I did. He gave me at least a month of samples and said, here's some for your wife as well. Give some to her. What he did not realize is the fact that my wife was exhausted, wiped out, just basically despondent to the point where she couldn't take care of her basic needs of the family. We have 5 children. She was, of course, in a situation where she was sleeping until 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, just exhausted. And we've tried many things to help her get better, and not one thing has created a substantial effect until she tried Max GXL. And within 1 week, she woke up on a Saturday morning at 7:30. I reached over wondering where she was. She was gone. Wow. She was up doing the things that she had always done, a very productive lady, and I have her back in my life again. So to me, this means a lot. So I bridged that gap of disbelief in my own life, my wife's life, and my family's life. Well, it's a bigger responsibility when you bring in patients into something like this. So I treaded very carefully, and I did not make any promises. I was cautious in my statements, but I was also hopeful. Within a week, I was getting emails, phone calls. People were so impressed, they would walk in, some in tears, some smiling ear to ear, telling me, Dr. Bradley, thank you so much for what you've done. This is an amazing product. It's been very impressive and taken me by storm. I mean, I've been blown away.